It started with a single envelope taped to the front door, a notice that didn't belong carrying a message that made no sense. It claimed the home was in escrow scheduled to be vacated in 10 days, signed by a homeowners association officer. The main character had never met. He stood in disbelief, scanning the street for answers, feeling the slow burn of something deeply wrong simmering beneath the surface. Neighbors peeked from behind blinds. A few stared openly with a kind of judgment that said they believed something he didn't know about himself. He had lived there for 8 peaceful years. Yet suddenly strangers seemed to treat him like he didn't belong. Cars slowed in front of the house. People passed with curious glances. A realtor's van appeared one morning, parked 4 hours across the street, observing. And then there were the whispers, the unmistakable feeling that someone was trying to erase him from a place he worked his entire life to earn. Nothing prepared him for the truth. Because the notice wasn't a mistake, it was a warning. Someone in the HOA had secretly listed his home for sale without his knowledge. And behind that fraudulent act was a woman who believed she had the authority to control who lived in the neighborhood and who didn't. What he didn't know was that she wasn't just forging documents, she was running a full-blown operation. And the moment he uncovered her scheme, everything, his home, his safety, his reputation, teetered on the edge of collapse. Wait a second. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this. 1. The main character, Marcus Daniels, had moved to Willow Crest with a quiet sense of pride and peace. After years of working double shifts as a paramedic, he had finally bought a home, a modest but beautiful 2-story house tucked between old oak trees and trimmed lawns. He cherished his routines, walking early in the morning, tending his backyard garden, and waving to the few neighbors who didn't mind offering a smile in return. Life felt predictable, steady, and safe. Being one of only 3 black homeowners in the entire gated community didn't bother him. Or at least, he thought it didn't. Most days he kept to himself, avoiding unnecessary interactions. But over time, he noticed small gestures, subtle pauses in conversation when he passed lingering stares that weren't quite friendly. Nothing direct, nothing explicit, until the new HOA president arrived. Her name was Lorraine Fletcher, but people whispered a different name behind closed doors. A woman obsessed with control. A woman who believed the neighborhood standards defined its value. A woman who seemed to take special interest in Marcus. From the moment she took her position, she critiqued the shade of his lawn mulch. She questioned his visitor parking. She left warnings for trivial things like leaving his recycling bin out for more than 30 minutes. Each action was small on its own, but together they created a pattern Marcus couldn't ignore. Still, he maintained patience. He had seen worse. He had endured worse. What he didn't know was that Lorraine had been building a file on him, fabricating violations, falsifying reports, and convincing other HOA members that he was a problem resident. She believed she was protecting the neighborhood from people she quietly deemed undesirable. Marcus had no idea how far she would go or how dangerous her obsession had become, that the tension escalated when a stranger stepped into Marcus's yard to take photos of the house. At first, Marcus thought it was a mistake. Still, the person moved with certainty, capturing angles, measuring distances, and checking the fence line. When Marcus approached, the man left without a word, climbing into a branded real estate car. Confusion quickly morphed into alarm. Days later, Marcus discovered that his home had been listed on multiple real estate websites as vacant. Each listing shared photos he had never seen, along with a fabricated description, claiming the property was part of an upcoming foreclosure auction. The price wasn't just low, it was insulting, as if designed to encourage a quick, unquestioned sale. Marcus felt his chest tighten as he scrolled through the listings. It wasn't just an error. This was intentional. Someone wanted him out. He contacted the HOA only to be stonewalled. His emails went unanswered. His calls were redirected. His requests for an emergency meeting were denied. It was as if the organization that should have protected his rights had already decided he had none. Meanwhile, more strangers continued to circle the property. Some tried the door handle. Others wandered around the yard inspecting it like merchandise. One night, Marcus found a group at the edge of his driveway discussing the home's auction date. Their certainty shook him. They believed the house wasn't. He began digging deeper and learned that the HOA president had been forging documents, including a fraudulent deed transfer that claimed he had relinquished ownership. The paperwork was sloppy, misspelled names, incorrect dates, but it was stamped with an official-looking HOA seal. More disturbing was the revelation that Lorraine had done this before. 3 families in the past 2 years had mysteriously moved out after HOA disputes. Houses flipped quickly, always handled by the same real estate firm, always approved by the HOA board without question. Marcus realized he wasn't just dealing with prejudice, he was dealing with a scheme built on greed, power, and racial. Targeting the deeper he looked, the more he uncovered shell companies' fake inspectors, altered meeting minutes, illegal fines, and forced compliance fees. Lorraine had created an operation, one that thrived in silence, protected by fear and the illusion of authority. Marcus knew he had to expose her. But the moment he took action, the entire operation would turn its sights on him, and it did. Marcus collected every document, every screenshot, every fraudulent listing, preparing a report for the police and the state housing authority. But as he worked, the harassment intensified. HOA members drove by at odd hours. Anonymous notes were left on his porch, warning him to stop causing trouble. A security truck parked outside his home for an entire night with its lights aimed directly at his windows. The breaking point came when Marcus returned home one evening to find a moving crew unloading boxes onto his lawn. They claimed the home was sold. Their paperwork showed Lorraine Fletcher as the seller and Marcus as the former owner. The shock paralyzed him. Strangers were walking onto his porch, stepping onto his property with a confidence built on forged lies. Marcus stood his ground, refusing to let them enter. But before the confrontation escalated, a fleet of police vehicles pulled into the neighborhood, responding not to Marcus but to an anonymous tip claiming he was threatening workers with violence. It was a setup. Officers approached cautiously, assessing the scene. But Marcus, calm and steady, handed over the folder. He had prepared a meticulous timeline of the fraudulent operation. The officers hesitated as they examined the documents. And then something shifted. Their radios crackled as new information came through. A detective arrived moments later, his expression changing as he cross-referenced documents with an ongoing investigation. Within minutes, the officers redirected their attention not toward Marcus, but toward Lorraine. And when she arrived, expecting to oversee Marcus's forced removal, her carefully constructed empire was shattered. The police raided Lorraine's home that evening. Inside, they found stacks of falsified HOA files, unapproved fines, forged deeds, and records of illegal property transfers. Her operation wasn't just a minor scheme, it was a large-scale fraud ring built on targeting vulnerable or isolated homeowners, many of whom were people of color. The neighborhood descended into chaos as news spread. Residents who once watched Marcus from a distance now realized they had unknowingly been supporting a corrupt leader. Victims came forward, sharing stories they had been too afraid to voice. The shell companies were traced. The real estate partners were questioned. Arrests followed. In the days that followed, Marcus finally felt a sense of justice, not triumph, but relief. His home remained his. His name was cleared. The fraudulent listings were erased. And for the first time in months, he could sleep without fear of being pushed out of the life he built. But the emotional damage lingered. The realization that one person's prejudice, strengthened by power and supported by silence, could almost erase years of hard work, left a deep scar. Yet Marcus chose resilience. He planted new flowers in the backyard. He repainted the porch. He reclaimed his space with quiet determination. His story became a reminder of a larger truth: racial injustice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hides behind paperwork, policies, and polite smiles. And it thrives when good people stay silent. Marcus refused to stay silent on because of that the truth finally came to light. Where are you watching from? Take care.